Hey guys, happy Monday all. Back again at our podcast, bandais #overtime. We're gonna have our third episode today with the title of Get Back Up Part 1. And I'm your host, Andrew from JC1.
I'm Angie from Secondary 4.
I'm Adriel from JC1.
And okay, let's begin with this episode with discussing a question, which is what is failure? And in my personal opinion, it's when your results don't meet your expectations or when you lack of success. But what do you guys think? Andrew, what do you think?
Um, when I got less than 60, I guess that's a total failure.
Oh, yeah, well, same.
I think it's like when you've tried your best but you don't succeed. So yeah.
Oh,
When you try your best.
but you
Okay,
don't
okay.
succeed.
It's from a song.
Well, another question is what does failure feel like? Adriel, what do you think?
It feels like when somebody has punched you in the stomach and you can't fight the pain because it's there, but you can't erase it from your own memory. And in terms of academics, it's when you've tried everything, like you've tried all of your best to study for the test, but once you get, let's say, 50 or 40, you end up like feeling depressed and you feel sad eventually after that.
Oh, yes.
Broken heart.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
broken-hearted. Yeah.
Oh, and what happens when you sit with it? Like, what do you do? How do you
Well,
respond to
mm,
failure?
I used to sulk, like maybe cry, I guess, once. Because, yeah, I know it's a
Oh,
bit
that's
embarrassing.
sad.
Yeah,
Me
because
too, though. I mean,
yeah.
mental breakdowns.
Oh, sometimes can happen
Mm,
because I once used to prioritize my grades above everything, right? And once you
Ooh.
get like below 60, I guess that time,
yeah.
yeah, I feel like the world has come down, crashing down.
Apocalypse.
Apocalypse, yeah, exactly.
Well, unfortunately, people will try to ignore the feeling and carry on with their life, but actually, this is not the only option we have. There's a lot of other choices people can choose to cope with their failure, which is healthier for them. And one of these options is to try to admit to it, to your failure, and understand your feelings even more, which allows us to know what to do with failure. And this will be further discussed by Adriel.
Well, thank you for that. And yep, it's true that we have to admit that we have failed because in order to cope with the feeling of it, we have to practice self-compassion, which means that you have to love yourself. Well, I know that sometimes you
Yes.
might hate yourself after you've done something
Baby.
that you've expected to be great, but it turns out to be a failure, and it feels like you've been down there, and it's pretty depressing, I must say. That's why you have to practice self-compassion. Yep, yeah,
Yep.
well,
Yep.
it is depressing though. But you must not hate yourself because it's wrong to hate yourself because well we make mistakes like me
Yeah,
you and
everyone
you
makes
will make
mistakes.
mistakes, so it's not,
Everyone makes
yeah,
mistakes.
it's not like not a single person cannot make mistakes. Well, that's wrong too. And second is that you have to adopt a proper mindset. So like, well, I guess life for me that's smooth. Well, I mean, I'm only 17, but I've already experienced like many ups and downs. So I've tried to adopt this mindset where I can be tougher next time. Well, I mean, like not
Mm.
trying to block myself out from the feeling of failure because that's just dumb for me. I mean,
Yep.
try to accept that I've created this mess and I try to move on, like finding better solutions. Like maybe I can learn harder next time instead of playing games or playing PUBG. If that's
That's
Yes,
true.
yes, yes.
That's true. Yeah.
well, my friend Andrew can relate to that. So yeah. And the third one is you have to identify where is your source of problem. Is it like your sleeping habit, or is it like your own anxiety, or maybe it's just your own habit, like maybe eating habits that are self-destructive. So you have to identify what is the source of your failure, and you have to try to fix it. Yeah, try to fix it by yourself, or maybe you can ask your friends for help, because friends are there for you, so that they can help
100%.
100%. And once
That's
you
good.
have gathered all of this stuff to help yourself, you have to create a plan. Like just plan, like maybe like this week I will learn like five times a day. Like maybe I will learn mathematics or I will learn business, and just stick to your plan, because once you create a plan, all you have to do is to maintain the plan, so that it can be done like it can be done every time like that. And the last two tips that I have gathered is just pretty basic actually. Is just to try to stay calm, because well, if you panic easily, you lose all sense of logic. Like you don't know how to think, you don't know like what will be your next steps, and it's pretty frustrating. Even for me, it's pretty frustrating. And last is you have to make these improvements, because most people will look for easy improvements, like fast results, while in actual well apa ya, well in the actual world it's not that easy, because well results don't come that easily as we expected to. So we just have to maintain our own habit, and well, I can promise you that in the meantime, what you hope will be delivered if you stay true to your own to your own plan. That's it.
Right. Yeah. And from all those tips EL has given to us, I've also wanted to discuss about our own personal attitude to our uh, on like how we perceive failure. We need to change our attitude toward failure, because there are people that take failure as a total destruction, and they just like, ah, I failed, and do nothing. But somehow there are also people that learn from failure. We gotta see failure as a teacher. It can highlight the faults in our plans or methods or even our personality. Those failures, we have to find the pieces and chunks inside uh, the reason why we fail, so that we can, in the next opportunity or challenges we face, we can fix ourselves and be better. That's how we should face failure. Don't think that failure is there to drop us down. No, but failure is there to teach us something better, something your parents, your teacher, your friends can't teach you about, but failure can. Things like that. Right. And we also need to change the role of failure plays in our lives. A failure is the consequences of trying, right? The consequences of trying is failure, in which when you ask, then what is success? Success is a reward of trying. So from there, we can see that everything has consequences, has risk, and in trying, the risk is failure. And from there, we can see that failure can help us more, because it provides us experience in which the failure can help to teach us to get better. What about like EL? Yeah, what do you think of, how do you perceive failure in your life?
In terms of academics and maybe other topics, I perceive failure as something that I despise of actually, because
Yeah,
yeah, because like well, I mean, who wants to fail actually? Like, who wants to fail in life? Like, even I kind of expect like everything to go smoothly, but sadly,
yeah,
well, when I try that kind of mindset, it doesn't work with me, because things are not as expected as what we expect, and things are not always constant. They will always fluctuate between the good and the bad.
I agree.
We have to be ready for it. So, for now, Well, I think failure is when we, well, my definition for failure is when something doesn't go our way. I think that's my definition for it.
All right. Okay. Yeah, everyone have different mindset towards failure, but I hope you guys have good like you see failure as a good thing. I hope you guys can learn from it and see the good point of view of it. There are two point of view you can see from, the bad one and the good one. If you keep doing and accepting failure, you can see it as a good point of view, and in the end, your life won't be a failure. It will come to a success and you'll be rewarded with it. Yeah,
Amen.
what do you think about that? About that, yeah, Angie.
Yeah, well, I kind of agree with Adriel before. Like, failure is not something we would like to look back on, but failure is something important to make us remember that, yeah, life doesn't always go the way we want to, but
Yeah.
failure makes us stronger in the end, in
Yes.
a way,
Yeah.
because yes, just like our episode's title, it's the way
Get back
for us to
up.
get back up. Yes.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. Right. Yeah, so the point I wanna give to you all guys is that don't be disappointed of your own mistakes that leads to be grateful, since that way if you experience failure, you will study more, learn more through your own experience. And that's the best thing life could give for us. Yeah.
Yes.
That's true.
Okay, so for the conclusion, probably Adriel.
Well, so we have learned something today, guys, that failure is when we get something different from what we expect. And well, we can choose either to accept it, to admit it, or just to let it slide by our lives. And we've learned like how to cope with failure, and there are many ways that you can do it. But well, I'm just going to tell you guys the simplest way is to admit it. First is to admit it. Second is to make a plan to fight against it, and third is to maintain your plans so that your plan can be built up over time, and it can build up a sense of confidence in yourself so that it can prevent the feeling of failure again. And well, as my other hosts Andrew and Angie has explained about failure, I think it's pretty clear that failure is merely the discovery of one way of doing something that doesn't work. Regret is never exploring any means of achieving anything. Okay.
Yes.
Yes. So, guys, I guess that is it for this week's episode. And before wrapping it up, I would like to remind everyone that anyone can join this podcast if you want to be a host. If you are indeed interested, then please do email us at podcast@pissecondary.penabur.sch.id or DM us at bandais.pis in Instagram for any additional information required. We are open to ideas, and see you guys next week on our next episode, fourth episode actually, of Band-Aids #overtime.
Right.
Hashtag get back up, hashtag GBU, hashtag God bless you all.
Right. God bless you all.
See you guys.
Thank you for
Have
tuning
a good day,
in.
guys.
Have a good day, y'all.
Bye bye.